Hello everyone, welcome to Phrasing Out the Exorcist, and today I'll be reviewing the 2022 superhero film Thor: Love and Thunder. Now, before I jump into my thoughts on the film, because I want this to go as fast as possible, let's just do a little basic plot summary of the whole thing, okay? Well, not like plot summary, but just the overall plot of the film. So basically, while on a journey of finding inner peace and just basically like finding out who he is, whatever, whatever that may mean. Thor, well, Thor comes across like distress calls from these people who are um, being attacked by this character, the villain Gore the God Butcher, played by Christian Bale, and he's going around killing all of these gods using a, what is it called, a Necronomicon sword or something like that. And basically because, like, like when his daughter was dying, this god didn't help him, so now he wants to kill all gods and make a wish by this place to bring back his daughter. And so yeah, Thor puts together a team made of himself, Valkyrie, Korg, and what's your name again? Jane Foster, Mighty Thor, played by Natalie Portman. All right, so they put together that team and go to save the galaxy from Gore the God Butcher. That is the basic plot of Thor: Love and Thunder. Now, right up to bat, since I want to make this go as fast as possible, I narrowed my thoughts on the film down to 5 negatives and 2 positives, which should tell you a bit of how I already feel. But just explain everything. So just to get them out of the way, because I want to leave this on as positive of a note as possible. Let's start with the negatives. So negative number 1, lame humor. I've been feeling like ever since I got introduced to Taika Waititi, or Waititi, or whatever his last name is, ever since I've been introduced to him as a director, like most of us were with his with the 2018, what's it called again, Thor. There's just Thor 3. I forgot the name of it. Right? What was it? All right, it's right. Thor Ragnarok. Oh, and it was 2017. Thor Ragnarok. Pretty much everyone liked Thor Ragnarok. It's one of the most acclaimed movies in the whole MCU lineup so far. And he got a lot of praise and got a lot of hype because of that film. That's where most people know him from. But even back then, even though I myself liked that movie, and also, but like not as much as everyone else because of other reasons, I felt even there that, like, even though like the most of the jokes were okay, they were funny and stuff, I felt like, yeah, this is his humor. It felt very personality based, sort of like humor. Just like the way how the characters talked, and just how the characters did their humor. It felt unique to him, and I didn't really like it that much because the jokes weren't always funny, and when they weren't funny, they just kind of came off as like, I don't know, it's like a really like juvenile-ish, like childish kind of way. That's like kind of like, yeah, we're all playing along with this thing. That's what it felt like. That's what the humor felt like. But in Thor: Love and Thunder, Thor Part 4, it's not only are there like less like, not only are the jokes not as funny as the jokes in Thor Ragnarok, um they're just lame. They're just like, especially like I don't know, they're just lame and just like awkward. It's kind of hard to explain. It's so weird. It's like every time someone told a joke, well, not like every time, but like just them telling jokes, it just, it felt weird. It just felt weird. It wasn't funny. It just kind of happened, like especially that joke with between Tessa Thompson's Valkyrie and Natalie Portman's Jane Foster, like after she like broke the sink and stuff, and they're preparing to go off and find the kids and stop Gore the God Butcher. And Valkyrie is just showing Jane Foster the weapons that she's bringing, like like her sword and those two knife stuff. And then she brings up what looks like a hand grenade, but it's a portable speaker, and and it's the most awkward thing ever. And they start playing Missy Elliott, I think, and like bopping their heads to it, and it's like the actresses do their best with the material, but it's just, yeah, it just wasn't good. The humor was not good throughout the film. It didn't ruin the film for me, but uh and like a couple things kind of made me smile, I guess, but nothing was funny. It was just, I don't know, just like too many awkward and like just unfunny moments of Taika Waititi humor, because because I don't really see this kind of humor anywhere else. It just kind of feels personal to him. I've seen similar, all right. I've definitely seen similar, but this seems more personal to him. So yeah, lame humor is the first negative. Negative number two, which was an important one for me personally. It doesn't answer Thor's question, and what I mean by that is the movie does not do a good job of giving Thor answer to his question of like who is he, like what's his purpose, what is he meant to do exactly, what's the purpose of his life. It doesn't answer that question. It gives that, it shows that he's looking for an answer at like near the beginning of the film, but as soon as the plot kicks in with Gore the God Butcher and the kids getting kidnapped and stuff, and Jane Foster coming back and them having to go on this adventure to save the world, that gets immediately pushed to the background. And there's this message later on about like using the life that you have now to, like just do the most that you can, and because you've only got one life, so you make the most of it. Just making the most of your life instead of like trying to live longer, just make the most of the life that you have. There's a message of that later, but that doesn't, that it like it's a good message and all, but it doesn't answer Thor's question. And that at the end of the film, when I was thinking it all back, I was like, oh yeah, they didn't answer his question, so that kind of bothered me. So yeah, that's my second negative. My third, the pacing of the story felt rushed. A big problem for me in the film was the pacing. Well, just like overall, the movie's not 2 hours long, right? It's not. Yeah, it's just on the cusp of being 2 hours long, but it's not 2 hours long. And it wasn't hard to get through or anything, but it just reminded me of Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, the in how little is achieved in the film. Right, because like it just like just like the way how the story plays out, it feels as if like they were moving small pieces, because it's not a huge story. It's not 2 hours long. It's these like, it's like four pieces, right? It's like four pieces. I have no idea why this analogy is in my head, but there's like four pieces, and they chose to move these four pieces along really, really quickly. And I guess by four pieces, because I don't even know what I'm saying right now. I guess by four pieces, I mean like the acts of the film, or like four important story beats of the film. And it felt like it was just pushing everything along really, really quickly to get the whole thing one and done with. Because they don't go anywhere exactly. I mean, like, because they're always using the Bifrost, right? So they're not, well, okay, there was kind of like they did travel through space with like goats, uh which, but it's still kind of using the Bifrost, but not as quickly, so that was a little journey, but most of the time the pacing feels very rushed. And since the film doesn't go through this massive adventure that it thinks it does, it just kind of skips around to these like there's these like really short lapses of time in between these like huge distances that they have to travel to get where they're going. So if they have to go to this planet that's really really far away in this darkness, instead of showing us the journey, instead of like having like regular adventure movies, things happen in between or something. It just shows us, okay, here's the start of our journey, here's the middle, and oh look, we're at the end of our journey on this planet where we're supposed to be. It just felt really rushed in that aspect, because the movie doesn't, as I said before, I guess to just wrap this point together, it it doesn't go anywhere. It goes to far places. They go to far places in the story, but to us, the audience, it's just skipped. It feels as if they skipped large distances, so we just have these small time lapses, so it feels like a rushed pace. So I guess that kind of pulls my whole point together. So yeah, the story felt rushed to me. And negative number 4, the villain wasn't good or threatening enough. So something that I definitely did not want to happen. I was fearing this when I saw the trailers and the teasers and stuff. Gore the God Butcher is not that good of a villain. I know nothing about how he is in the comics. I'm a normie in that sense. I had no idea. I just knew that Christian Bale was playing a character, and then reveals it's Gore the God Butcher, and I didn't do any research on him or anything, so I don't know. Um, and yeah, he's just not a good enough villain. Of course, Christian Bale is good in the role itself, but they don't give him much to do besides just be a regular. I want to kill a bunch of people. And here's my end goal, which kind of seems noble if you look at it from my point of view, kind of villain. It's one of those we've seen that like a million times if you watch movies. So there's nothing really unique to him. The only time that he felt menacing, the only time that he felt like really strong and as if he played as an actual like real threat to our heroes was the what was it? It was that scene when they finally got to the like dark planet and stuff, where like the kids were being held captive and stuff, and like he like trapped them in that place, and he had like these like dark like alien creatures or something like wrap their spines and stuff around him, and like Valkyrie, Thor, and the mighty Thor, Jane Foster, like it just kind of like wrapped them all up and took away their powers and stuff. Now that's and like when he kind of like confronted all of them on their own like beliefs about like gods and stuff, now that was sort of like powerful moment. Now that was a really really good scene where Christian finally got a chance to really get some like meat out of this character, because other than that scene they don't give him much of anything besides the regular cliche stuff that a million other villains have gotten, which makes him just like a regular, not bad but not really good villain, because he's not given much else to stand out, he's not given much else to do, even in battle. From the very beginning, when like most movies, the villain might get a upper hand because the hero doesn't know what like doesn't really know or understand what their powers are, what their weaknesses are. They don't know how to fight this guy. they're just going off whim. And so yeah, they're supposed to get their butt kicked really really bad first and then come back and beat the villain. But even at the really beginning, like, Thor was holding himself well with Gore the God Butcher. There was no point in time where he was really struggling against him like that for the entire film, right? The only time Gore like got any significant hits in on any of our heroes was like when he would just like spring a trap or something like that. But other than that, he stood toe to toe with them from the very beginning. None of them like were really threatened by him as a huge, oh, he could kill me kind of guy at the very beginning. So yeah, that also did not help him to seem any more menacing or just any more good of a villain. So yeah, he was just a regular villain. I wish he stood out more. I also wish like the comic enthusiasts like who actually know the character and stuff that he was more, I don't know, that he looked more like the character in the comics, like a bit more bulkier and and like looking just make him fuller, just like don't make him look like such a weakling. Like you want him to stand up to these heroes and gods and stuff, right? So yeah. Oh, and also another thing which did not help to make him a more compelling villain, because when we first hear about him, like it's him. Well, not like first hear about him, but him as the God Butcher. We see him killing, like as they say in the movie, low level gods, but we don't like but we don't see him do it. We just see it on these small screens of distress calls, like when the Guardians of the Galaxy finally get their, what's it called, their whatever it is that they see distress calls on, when they finally get that back. So we just like see like small itsy bitsy clips of him killing gods, but like and like just like showing him going through time, like year after year, just killing more and more gods would have definitely helped to make him a more menacing and serious figure. But they didn't do that. They just went the regular cliche route, and we just ended up with a regular villain. So yeah, that was a problem for me. My fifth and final and biggest problem with Thor: Love and Thunder was that the movie didn't feel big enough. All right, sad to say, but Marvel, for at least two movies in a row, with this and Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, have made a film that's very hyped, very and anticipated in their fan base, but just fail to deliver on a significant story. Because big problem with Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, it did not feel big enough. It did not feel adventurous enough. It did not feel as if they did the absolute most with the concept that they had, that they could have. And I got the same exact feeling, unfortunately, with Thor Love and Thunder, where they just fail to deliver on this concept of Gore the God Butcher. And just like with this story, even with the story of like the romance, well, it, okay, I'll say that again. They just like didn't do anything significant in this film, right? And this is the Thor franchise, like, right? It's he's one of the big heroes here. He's not Ant-Man, which like Ant-Man I think is very underrated. His films are very underrated. I think a lot of unnecessary hate goes his way, but people expect him to have stories that don't affect like the huge landscape, right? But Thor, now that's a big like literal god level figure in the MCU, so we expect him to have these huge adventures. But this isn't much of an adventure. They go to like four places in the entire film. There's like four locales in the entire film, And as I said before, the pacing feels rushed for the story. So yeah, it just did not feel big enough. As I said, Gore the God Butcher wasn't much of a threat, and the characters don't go through that much growth really. Thor kind of sort of does something, and I'm leaving one part out because that's a part of my positives. But other than that one thing, nothing significant really happens in the film. Valkyrie, she's more like a bit more likable here than she was in Ragnarok, in my opinion. But like I never really minded her at all. But you know, nothing really significant happens in the entire film. It's just we need to stop Gore the God Butcher from killing gods. How do the other gods react? So, all right, and that's I'm finding more problems. Okay, and that's another problem with the film. Like that scene where Thor confronts Zeus. Zeus is like the god of all gods. He's like the biggest god, right? And it's this like room and city full of gods. You're telling me absolutely no one felt remorse, no one felt sad, no one felt compelled to help Thor. No one. They're all selfish, they're all bad, they're all corrupted, they're all, just like show no empathy. They're just all like self-serving, so bad that that not a single one of them decide to help Thor. Not a single one. No one steps up to help Thor. No one says after he gets humiliated by Zeus, no one pulls him to the side like, hey, you said some stuff that made sense in there, so I want to help you. But no one's doing that. You're telling me they're all scared of Gore the God Butcher. They're all scared. They're all cowards. They're all scared. They're all selfish. All of them, really. You expect us to believe that they're all selfish, every single one of them. Okay, so yeah, that bothered me as well. But yeah, just back to my main point, and my biggest problem is that the movie just wasn't big enough. At least on Wikipedia, it says that they attempted to make a romance and a 1980s inspired adventure film, and it did not feel like that. It didn't feel like some Indiana Jones thing. It didn't feel like even like Conan. It wasn't a huge spectacle or adventure like those movies. It failed in that regard. It just like and just leaving the theater, I was disappointed because it didn't feel like much of anything was progressed, like much of anything happened. It just, heroes versus villains, heroes win in the end. That's it. Thank you for coming. Thanks for your money. Half $1 billion. There you go. That's just what it felt like. Like nothing stuck, nothing really stood out, nothing really like engaged me. I was just like, oh, this is part of the MCU, so I'm watching it, right? Yeah, that's good. So yeah, it just felt like a bunch of just like regular nothingness, just regular. Here you go. Here's heroes versus villains, and there you go. Nothing really just stood out. It just felt regular, right? And the last thing you want freaking Thor to feel like is regular. Okay, this is Thor. It's Thor. He's a god, all right, surrounded by other gods. There's this guy killing gods. This should be a huge spectacle, but it's not. It's not. It's just, as I said, not big enough. So that was my biggest problem with the film, and also my final problem. So I guess I had 6 problems. So to end this off on a positive note, let's go into my positives of Thor: Love and Thunder. Positive number 1, regular stuff, which is a group of things that I just compressed into one point because they can't really stand by themselves. Decent action and expectedly good performances. That is what I mean by regular stuff. Regular stuff is stuff that you expect to be good because they were good before, so there's no reason to believe that they would be bad now. That's regular stuff. So yeah, decent action. The action scenes didn't stand out that much to me. honestly. Nothing really stood out in terms of action because it's all CGI. It's all, like, there's no real weight to anyone getting hit. I'm starting to feel that more nowadays, unfortunately. I don't feel weight. I don't feel um pressure. I don't feel the emotion. Well, I feel the emotion like a little bit, but I just don't feel the weight of the hits when people get hit because it's all CGI, it's all graphics. But it was decent. It wasn't bad, and good performances. Yeah, just everyone did it as expected. Good job. Chris Hemsworth as Thor, without even saying he was good in the role. Wish he stood out more, but yeah, it is what it is. Um, Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie, as I said before, I liked her better this time around. They made her less like drab, I think, of a character. Russell Crowe as Zeus. Uh, he was, he was good. He was good for when he was there. He was good. Who else? Who else was in there? The guys who played Guardians of the Galaxy, they're good as well. Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher. I already talked about his performance earlier, so I won't spend much time here. He was also good. He just needed more to do. All right, he just needed more to do. They did not give him good material at all. It was just basic stuff, is what he was offered, unfortunately. So, but just yeah, he powered through it. He's a good guy, so he powered through it. Whatever. Which connects me. Oh yeah, right before I get to my final point and my final positive. You'll notice that I don't talk about the special effects in this video because I well, in a video that I think I'll put out before this one, maybe. I think I'll put out before this one. Might be after. Oh, okay. Yeah. In a video that I'll be putting out really really soon, I explained that Thor: Love and Thunder was the first movie that I saw in a theater, and because it's the first movie that I saw in a theater, my eyes aren't used to theater size screens, so I had some trouble like knowing what to focus on the screen as I was like looking at everything. So, and since like this is like a fast paced movie, there's a bunch of action dollars going on. So I was like kind of like this the entire time. Like, where should I look? What am I looking at? Does that look good? Does the CGI look good? Does it look bad? I cannot tell. Like the quality of the film looks good, but I can't tell if the CGI looks good because it's like it's moving all the time. I'm not used to seeing characters this big up to my eyes. It's weird. I'm used to like being able to see the entire screen. So yeah, that just it just felt weird to me. Since it was my first time, and like I grasped the entire film, but I didn't grasp like the special effects, in my opinion. So I don't feel inclined to talk about. Although I did notice, especially during the fight between Thor, I mean like the yeah like Thor, well just everyone fighting on that like moon planet that Gore the God Butcher is on, right? When they're fighting there, the green screen there was not that good. I definitely noticed that. I definitely noticed that green screen not being that good. But I can't speak on like the whole special effects thing. I just don't feel justified because I was not really fully understanding like the movements and stuff in front of my face since it was my first time in the theater. So yeah. On to my last point, my biggest positive, the biggest enjoyment that I had out of this entire film was Natalie. Well, here's the point. Natalie Portman was the heart and soul of the movie. I was not expecting Natalie Portman to be this good. Now, I've seen Natalie Portman in a bunch of other stuff. Well, I'm lying. Not a bunch of other stuff, but in other stuff. And I know she's a great actress, but in here, she got a chance to really show it off, really show it off, just how good of an actress that she is, because she and Chris have a great energy. She and Chris have great chemistry together. But even when she's by herself, just like talking to anyone, not just Chris, like she I felt is very infectious, like radiating just joy and like happiness from her character. And I don't even remember her being that happy even. It's just, I don't know, it's just like the way how she played the character made me feel happy. It made me feel happy. I don't know, just because like she had the whole cancer thing. So yeah, and yeah, she's the only character that I felt any real emotion for throughout the entire film, because she like um because like with the whole cancer thing, and like the Mjolnir hammer like saving her but also killing her at the same time, like, you know, there was some emotion to that, and just some emotion to how her character ended up dying in the end, right? That's the only real emotional depth that I felt throughout the entire film. And it's all thanks to her, like, just magnificent performance throughout the entire film. She's the only standout character. She's the only, you know, and she gets less screen time. Well, that's, oh, I can't say that anyway. But yeah, she's the only person that really like felt like there was anything meaty to them. Everyone else just had like regular material, right? Just like regular, you know, just like regular cliche material. But hers had some real emotional meat to it, and she chewed the heck out of it. It was so good watching her, like, just like fighting villains and stuff, because she was happy. You know, she was smiling and happy. Just, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it just felt happy. It was happy. It was happy. That's how I felt. I was happy. All right. It made me feel happy. It's happy. She was happy. They were happy. She made people happy. It's happy, right? It's happy, right? Happy. She was the heart and soul of the film. Made me feel happy. Just happy, happy. And so yeah, those are all of my points. For how I felt about the entire movie. It felt rushed. It felt as if nothing was really progressing. Well, and yeah, that's a weird feeling, because it felt rushed, but it also felt as if the story wasn't progressing that much, right? Well, because we're told that they're going on this adventure, but it's not much of an adventure. We don't see much adventure. It's just like four places, I swear, right? So yeah, it doesn't feel like it progresses the story much. Thor's question of self-discovery isn't really answered. It's just kind of thrown to the wayside, in my opinion, or just like lazily answered at best. Um, the villain was not as good as he should have been. The I'm just like lame humor. The movie just the movie just didn't feel big enough. All right, it was not, wasn't as big. It just didn't have as much meat as it should have had, in my opinion. So yeah, although there are some positives, as I said, the regular stuff. And if it was not for Natalie Portman, God bless her, because if it wasn't for Natalie Portman, this movie would have a huge hole in it. All right, because she's the only one really like pushing it in this movie. She's the only one that had some like at least decent material to work with. So yeah, uh, yeah. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the film. I don't hate it, but I also don't like it. All right, I do not like the film. So overall, I give it about um, I'm thinking about a five. I think a five is in order with this one. So yeah, I'm right down the middle on it. I will not voluntarily watch it again. I think ever with a group of friends, with other people, sure, but alone on my own whim, on me wanting to see it again, no. No, not gonna do that. So yeah, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to know when I upload next. This has been Fraser, not the Exorcist, and I'll see you all next time. God bless.